So you know how when people are public speaking, a lot of people give the advice of, just picture everyone in the crowd naked. Just when you get up there and you start getting nervous, just imagine that everyone in the crowd was naked. Yeah, that's not what we're gonna do. Okay. What's up, business baddies? I'm Rima, and you are now tuned in to the remix, where being overbooked is overrated and simple businesses are sexy. Today, we're gonna talk about something that my baddies in the RiBrand Experience and I are always talking about. For those of you who don't know, the RiBrand Experience is an online coaching program for Arab women who are looking to attract consistent customers on repeat. We talk about branding and we talk about marketing. And so today we're gonna focus on marketing and the anxieties that often come along with creating content on social media. So I wanna talk about the three biggest myths that I often hear when people start putting themselves out there and trying to attract people to their business or their brand. So myth number one is, I'm not an expert. Why do they want to hear from me? I'm not an expert. Myth number two kind of builds on myth number one, and it's people don't care about me, or people don't care about what I have to say. And then last but not least, myth number three is that if somebody comments something negatively on something that you put out into the world, then that must mean I suck and I should just crawl into a hole and never come out. And I laugh about this not because I'm making fun of anyone who feels this way. I'm kind of adding humor to an anxiety that I feel as well. We all feel this anxiety when we're putting ourselves out there, when we're being public, when we're sharing our stories. It feels very vulnerable. And so just naturally, a lot of our anxieties and fear of judgment tend to sprout up. So I kind of want to touch on the fear of judgment part a little bit, and I'll tell you a quick story about myself, because underlying all of this, and I just want you to know this before we get into busting all three of these myths. This entire video, by the end of this video, you will have the tools to bust every single one of those myths or anxieties when they sprout up. Whether that is in your personal day-to-day life when you're sharing things with people, or like I mentioned, online marketing for social media. So for those who are newer to my world, I graduated with my MBA 2 years ago. And business school environments, just like most master's programs, can feel a little bit intimidating. You're in this big room with 100+ students, and it's kind of like that U-shaped classroom where everyone can see everybody. And you want to ask your professor a question. So picture this with me. I'm in this room, it's a U-shaped room. I have a really good question that I want to ask my professor. And for me, it takes me about 3 minutes to even decide to raise my hand, because in those 3 minutes, all of my anxieties are flaring up. You're going to sound dumb. You're going to sound stupid. People are going to think you're an idiot. What if the professor already explained something like that? And then finally, I'm entitled to this question. Okay, the whole point is to learn. So let me raise my hand. Raise my hand. My heart just starts beating like this. Okay, I ask my question. My face is still red. I act like I'm normal. And then nobody dies and nothing happens. I don't have a heart attack. I don't die. It is social anxiety. And it took for me to experience that over and over and over to realize, I don't think other people go through that. I think some other people might, but I don't think this is something that is just part of being a human being. I think that I have social anxiety. So if you feel this way, whether it's raising your hand in a class or, posting something on social media, if you feel like you're really scared, you're afraid of what other people are going to think, I just want you to know that it could be part of social anxiety. And at the root of social anxiety is a fear of judgment, a fear of looking stupid, a fear of people judging what you say, a fear of people misunderstanding you or misunderstanding your intentions. And I want to give you a very useful tool to help you nip that in the bud when it sprouts up, because it will sprout up and that's okay. So you know how when people are public speaking, a lot of people give the advice of, just picture everyone in the crowd naked. Just when you get up there and you start getting nervous, just imagine that everyone in the crowd was naked. Yeah, that's not what we're gonna do. Okay, I don't know about you, but that actually makes me feel way more nervous. That literally stresses me out so much more. So instead, I'm going to give you an alternative. Whether you are public speaking, whether you are speaking up in class, whether you are posting something on social media, I wanna give you an alternative to nip that social anxiety in the bud. and it is called the persona. It is your ideal person. And essentially what I want you to do is craft the ideal audience member. This could be based on somebody in real life who you know, or it could be based on who you would like to be on the receiving end of your content or your message. It can be a completely fictional person if you want them to be. So let's start with the basics. Give them a name. What's their name? How old are they? Where are they from? Let's think through some basic demographics. What would be written on a passport or a driver's license? So once you are able to be familiar with the basics of who this person is on paper, let's get deeper into the way more important stuff. What are this person's values? And a good way to start thinking through that, a very accessible way to think through that, is think about if they had a social media account, what would their name on social media be? Whose stories would come up as their top stories? Who would they be following? Obviously, this is just one option of how you might describe their personality. But questions that I really like to ask here are, what are their main values? Where do they shop? I always joke, what is their coffee order if they go to a coffee shop? Do they even drink coffee? The idea is not to just like play around. The idea is to bring this person to life, and it should feel like you actually know them very deeply. What would they be searching online and not wanting to show other people? Okay, so take some time to really bring that person to life and be open to continuing to learn more about this person. And now let's connect them to you. They obviously follow you. If they are your ideal audience member, this is someone who follows you. This is someone who you are in close contact with. This is someone who is consuming your content. So ask yourself why. Why is it that they are consuming your content? What do they love about the kinds of content or messages that you deliver? What is it that makes them love you and feel close to you? This is really, really, really important, and we'll get to why in a second, but make sure you have written down in clear detail, what is it? What shared values do you and this person have that makes them follow you, and more importantly, binge watch or binge listen or binge read your content? You are now in a perfect position to bust all three of these myths. And we're gonna do that one by one. I want you to know that personally, I have done this with each of my businesses. Actually, the second lesson in my program for my students is getting very clear on a persona, just like I helped you do right now in more depth. They're able to really bring that person to life, and we constantly refer back to this person throughout our lessons because it really drives the perspective behind why you do what you do. So let's revisit those three myths, and let's just like bust each of them one by one with this persona in mind. We are going to take this person with us for the remainder of this video, so make sure you have this person in mind. So myth number one is, I'm not an expert. Great. Your persona doesn't want you to be an expert. If you just look back on how you responded to my final question of why is this person connected to you, I bet you, I can put money on the fact that they are not connected to you because they perceive you as an expert on a certain topic. They are connected to you because they really value your opinion. They value your stories. They value your experiences. And they feel connected to you on a human level. And on a human level, nobody's an expert. At the end of the day, people are not perfect. People are human. And someone is consuming your content. Your ideal audience member is not expecting you to be flawless. You are expecting you to be flawless. You are judging yourself. And when you really focus on who it is that you're trying to target, they're not judging you the way that you're judging yourself. So they are not expecting you to be an expert. You can sigh of relief and stop putting that pressure, putting that added pressure on yourself to be something that this ideal audience member is not asking you to be, nor do they want you to be. Okay? So let's move on to number two. Number two is, nobody cares what I have to say. Well, we have just established that your ideal audience member indeed cares very, very much what you have to say. In fact, they care so much about what you have to say that they are binging your content. Now, I want to think about something with you. There are probably other people making their ways into the room, the figurative room with you when you are delivering your message, and you're worried about all of these other people, even though you know, and we have just established that these other people who are, weaseling their ways into your room or into your space or into your brain are not your target audience. So if those people in your brain are judging you and don't care what you have to say, who cares? Because you are not creating the content for them. And even more importantly, I would argue that you are doing an injustice onto this person who you care so much about, who cares so much about you, who is the person that you want to be the beneficiary of your awesome messages. You're doing them an injustice by stopping or hesitating because of these other people. You are depriving this person of an amazing, really, really, really relatable message because you are worried about these other people in the room whom you've already established are not your target audience. So I hope that really helps you bust myth number 2, that nobody cares. I don't care if everyone in the world didn't care. If your one ideal target member cares, you are doing the right thing because that is the person who you are creating the content for at the end of the day. And then myth number 3, and this is my favorite one to bust. It's actually a little bit different than what you would imagine, and it could be the most valuable lesson for you and your business. So myth number 3 is somebody commented something negative. I must suck. I should just close up shop and never do this again. Let me give you a really easy way to figure out what to do with negative feedback. Ask yourself a very simple question. Does this negative feedback come from somebody who matches my audience persona? If the answer is no, and you can figure this out in several ways, maybe you already know this person, maybe you go on their page and kind of stalk them a little bit just to get an idea of who they are and what their values are, the kinds of things that they post. If they do not match your audience persona, and even more importantly, if they contradict your audience persona and don't have similar values, you give yourself immediate permission to just take their feedback in your brain, take it and just throw it in the trash. You know, the whole trash can sound on your computer. Just do that with someone whose feedback, if this person does not match who your target audience is, throw their feedback in the figurative trash, okay? And what this looks like in real life is you just need to have the discipline to not let it get to you, and don't even respond to that person. Now, if the negative feedback is coming from somebody who looks like your audience persona, if you're able to figure out that, oh, this is my audience and this is the negative feedback, then great. Rest assured that they love you and they care about you, and they are coming from a non-judgmental place. They're coming from a constructive place where they want you to do better, or maybe they're asking you for something that they need, and you should take that feedback as a gift. It's gold, it's a prize. And it's because the person who you are creating content for is literally telling you what they want or what they need. Maybe they're commenting, I wish that you would have covered this, or this video was awesome. Maybe looking at it from this perspective would have been more helpful to somebody like me. They're just literally telling you what they need. And instead of taking it personally and feeling judged, just remember that if this is your audience persona, they're there because they care about you. They care about your brand. They care about your message. And any feedback like that is something that you should take into your brand or business and incorporate immediately. I hope that creating an ideal audience persona is making you feel a little bit relieved. I just want you to know that you should do this, and I do this in business and in real life. Think about who you are. Think about what you value. And if there are people who contradict those values and you are letting their judgment stop you from being true as a business or as a person, then you are doing a disservice to yourself, to your purpose, and to the audience that is a right fit for you, to the audience that really cares and can be so inspired and moved by what you have to say. So drop a comment below. Let me know if this activity was helpful. Have you created your persona? If you want to share their name and what you've learned about yourself and your business as a result of going through this activity, definitely, I'd love to hear about that. Drop a comment below and let me know. All right, baddies, tune in again next time.